Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Pause in Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. So I was about to say happy Wednesday, but it's not Wednesday, is it? It's Thursday. And that is because I quite literally have not had a single second to breathe since Friday. So that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 days, and I haven't had a minute. I'm very tired. All good stuff. Happy days, no complaints, but I physically have not had the time to plan, record and schedule an episode for last night. So I put a story up yesterday saying, soz guys, but the podcast is going to be a day delayed and it's going to be up Thursday at 8 p.m. instead. So happy Thursday. Or whenever you're listening to this, hope you're having a great day. You know, I could have skipped my 20-minute sauna and shower at the gym last night that I do on a Wednesday and got this podcast up, but I didn't want to, quite frankly, and I shouldn't have to, so I didn't. So I have a nice block. Well, I pretty much have the afternoon off today, which is absolutely nice, and yeah, just thrilled about it. I really need these few hours, to be honest, to just get some boring life bits sorted, admin, stuff like that, and then just chill out as much as I can, to be honest, because I've got a full day of work tomorrow, and then Axtane is Saturday, Sunday, so again, straight back into it, straight back into the chaos, but just thankful to have an afternoon off today, so yeah. Sometimes it just be like that, and the podcast is going to have to be slightly late, but you're still getting your weekly episode for the week, so happy days. Today, I'm going to be speaking about external inconveniences that might happen at a show. For example, reruns, having to rerun if the timer fails, for example, or the class has to restart. Class clashes, so when two classes walk at the same time and run at the same time. And distracting spectators as well when your environment and surroundings are just not set up to, help you succeed. And I'm basically going to be giving you pointers of how to perform despite these external inconveniences, because whether we like it or not, they happen to us all. They're going to continue to happen. Shows aren't perfect. Life isn't perfect. So that is what we are going to be talking about today. Before we get into that, though, I will give you my weekly recap. So again, nothing exciting happening in the actual week, really, but we did have Whirlwind at the weekend. I'm just scrolling back through my Facebook yes, that's another thing that happened. My Team GB kit arrived, so I've got my shirts and my vest. I've already got my jacket and my cap. So that made everything feel even more real. It is now 20 days until I leave. So exactly 2 weeks yesterday, I believe. No, sorry, not 2 weeks, Jesus. 3 weeks yesterday, if you're listening to this on the Thursday it goes live, until I leave for Portugal. And then the actual competition is 28 days. In 28 days' time will be the first competition day of EO in Portugal, which is absolutely insane. So that came in the post. Then we had Whirlwind. So on Saturday, I was competing with Arrow, and then on Sunday, I was judging. So Saturday was great. Arrow had an agility and a jumping win. He also put in a stonking clear for our team, almost Team GB. So if anyone only saw me, Jamie and Amy in our t-shirts, which a few people have told me at that day of Whirlwind, we were not taking the team event at Whirlwind super seriously. You just didn't see Michael, who was wearing the almost t-shirt. So we were almost Team GB because we wanted to do it with all four of us, Max included, to practice our relay for EO. But Max couldn't go because he was elsewhere. So we recruited Michael, who was an honorary Team GB member. We called ourselves Almost Team GB. And Jamie's girlfriend, Siobhan, she printed us some t-shirts because she's artsy like that. It is a job. With Team GB on them for me, Amy and Jamie, and then Almost for Michael. So it was basically a bit of a piss take. And apparently loads of people actually thought we were taking it really seriously and just literally being Team GB for this fun teams event at Whirlwind. So that's really funny. But yeah, it was meant to be a piss take and a bit of fun. And yeah, just good practice for me, Jamie and Amy to practice our relay changeover, stuff like that for Portugal. But yeah, Arrow put in a clear and we ended up finishing 4th in the teams. But overall, it was just so nice to run a super chilled show to break up all the champs and qualifiers lately, just take a bit of pressure off and just enjoy the game, enjoy the runs without, any importance behind them, which I really, really, really enjoyed. Because like I said, at the moment, it is all just champs, qualifiers, etc. And then Sunday, I had a great day judging at Whirlwind on the Sunday. Big thanks to Amelia, who invited me to judge, and obviously, well, not obviously if you guys don't already know, but Amelia organised and ran the entire show completely by herself, which is absolutely insane. Huge respect to Amelia. I've known Amelia pretty much since I started doing agility when I was like very, very young, basically. I think I had a few years where I didn't know her, and then I met her. I was probably like 15 when I met her. And we've been really good friends ever since. So yeah, amazing stuff from Amelia, organising her own show. Huge respect. Potentially something that I'd like to do in the future. But yeah, massive respect and thanks to Amelia for inviting me to judge and just organising the whole show. It was great. Probably one of my favourite, most enjoyable and chilled shows to date for just going and enjoying some agility. Can't recommend Whirlwind enough, and I'll definitely be back next year. Amelia also treated us judges like absolute royalty. We had lunch at the pub, buffet lunch, free drink, my lime soda, big plate of fancy food. It was fab. Went for, obviously it was not obviously, I keep saying obviously, things aren't obvious to you guys, but anyway, it's like that as well, like and obviously, I can't stop saying them. Anyway, it was a minute walk to and from the pub, maybe a bit more, so we had a nice little walk through the country roads as well. We took Arrow with us, sat outside in the sun, it was great. But yeah, judging wise, all 3 of my courses went down perfectly, and it was a pleasure to watch everyone attack them. I had 4 to 5 agility, 1 to 2 agility, both all heights, and then just large intermediate 6-7 jumping at the end of the day. So yeah, super fun day on Sunday. Then on Monday, we had our last team training evening before EO. So again, it was me, Jamie, Amy and Max. We met up at Dog Sports Derby and had another course running evening together. And that is our last one before EO. We had 2 in total. This was our second. So yeah, don't know how that happened. It's gone so fast. But it was another perfect opportunity to do some controlled training in the heat because it was really hot and currently is really hot. It's meant to be, I think, 30 degrees this weekend, which is insane. It's currently, I think, peaking at 27 today. So it is very warm. But yeah, me and Arrow are just, training in the heat, learning to cope with that as we'll be in Portugal. I actually heard on the news, I think it was on the radio, that our temperatures are going to match that of some places in Portugal in the next few weeks. So it's literally perfect. Like if I can get used to it here, then we're going to go over there and it's going to feel the same. So fingers crossed that's the case. But yeah, Arrow ran beautifully at this training day. And we ran the full course. I did forget to pick a poll up before we ran though. So if you wonder why there's a poll down on that video on my social media, it's because I just didn't put the jump up before I ran. I just had a summer moment. And that is pretty much my week. So yeah, happy days. Without further ado then, why not get straight into the episode? So how to perform despite external inconveniences that you may find at an agility show. And like I said before, we've all been there, we've all experienced these things, and you just got to get through it, got to push through it and not got to panic. So the first inconvenience is reruns. So when you need to rerun, for example, a tire's on the wrong height or a jump's on the wrong height. For example, this happened at Vine. Luckily, I hadn't ran yet, Vine Champ Final. Luckily, I hadn't ran yet, but I was about to. And the majority of the class, all but 3 of us, I've told this story before when it happened, but only 3 of us hadn't ran, everyone else in the class. So 17 whole dogs had to rerun that Champ Final course. It may happen if you do your first run and then there's a timing fault, for example. But my main piece of advice for having to rerun a course is do not rush into it, okay? So they will give you unless it's obviously a champ final and it's strict running order or something like that. Normally, say if you run and the timing fails, they know immediately and they give you the choice whether to rerun immediately or at the end of the class. So it's completely up to you. Some people might prefer to just get on with it and do it there and then. Others may want to wait until the end of the class, get their breath back, let their dog kind of recover, get some energy back. That's completely individual and up to you. I haven't had this happen to me a lot, to be fair. I think I usually run straight away. I had it with Ethel more than Arrow. Obviously, I was running her for a bit longer. And I did always just run straight away with Ethel again while the course is fresh in my head. And as well, because then it's out the way and I, can go off and do my other runs. But everyone's different and you can just wait till the end of the class, come back fresh as if it's a new run and run it again. But you also may want to do it there and then, like I said, while you're remembering the course and technically you've just had a practice. But you've got to think of it as a free run. So be happy, be like, oh, that's great. I get a free run that's not £6, whatever they are these days. And also think of it as an opportunity to gain extra ring experience for both you and your dog. So the more experience you can get in the ring at a show, the better. And this rerun is just more of an opportunity for you to do that. I would also suggest running it in exactly the same way as your first run, unless you made a mistake in the first run, of course, in which you can then go into the rerun and rectify said mistake and do better, which is fab. Who wouldn't want to do that? So, like, if you had a mistake, a fault, or a pull down in the first run, happy days, you can then go for that clear next time. If you did have a clear, just run it the exact same way as you did in that clear, okay? And what will be, will be. I wouldn't, I've had this before where, maybe I've, again, watched someone else handle it a different way and decided to do that. Don't do that. Just, just run it the same way. Run it the way you ran it the first time unless, you completely cocked it up, because we have all been there as well. And then, like I said, happy days, you can rectify that and do it differently. But otherwise, just run it exactly the same. And the main thing, I think here, the main pointer is don't panic, okay? It happens to us all, but the last thing you want to do is panic in this situation and feel any extra pressure, because as we all know, and as I always say, the more pressure you put on yourself and the more you worry about a run, the worse the run is going to go, okay? So the next inconvenience is class clashes. So we'll cover walking and running in this situation. So as far as walking, so say you've got two rings, two classes, and they're walking the course at exactly the same time. The first thing you want to do is prioritise, okay? You want to prioritise which one to walk first or which one to walk more of. So if they are exactly the same, as far as importance goes, I would time yourself. So, for example, if you're walking two courses that are of the same importance at 10:15 and they both start at 10:30, allocate 7 minutes to one course and then move to the next. Obviously, you've got to factor in walking from one ring to the next. So if it's a 2-minute walk away, maybe, 6 minutes one course, spend 2 minutes walking to the next and then walk that one. And then you get equal amount of time walking each course. But, if one is more important than the other, say one is either champ or, singles or another qualifier, then, or maybe you've got an agility and a jump in and you need an agility win to win out, for example, prioritise that one that's most important, maybe spend 10 minutes walking that, and then move on to the next ring and just spend 5 minutes walking the other one, okay? Take it one course at a time and focus on the course you're currently walking. There's no point in thinking about the other course. So while you're walking the first course, don't think, oh God, I've got another course to go and run. So don't rush your course walking of that first course. Make sure you get it in your head and get a solid course walk in. Even if it's slightly shorter, just make sure that's a quality focused course walk where you're just thinking about that course. Similarly, when you go to walk your second course, make sure you're not still thinking about the first course or parts of that first course that you may be worried about, etc. Just think about getting the course you're currently walking in your head, okay? No multitasking here, please, one at a time. Another thing is to let the ring party know that there's a clash, and often in this case, they may extend course walking. So they may extend it by 5 or 10 minutes just to give you all, because you're all going to be in the same boat usually, unless you're running two different heights or two different dogs or two different grades. But if, say, they're both medium 6-7, then let the ring party know so that medium 6-7 people who are in those two classes, you all have extra time to walk. Potentially, I don't know if it'd be worth doing this if, say, you've got a medium 6-7 dog and a small 1-2 dog, and the small 1 to 2 is happening at the same time, that doesn't really work because the ring party is unlikely to extend it for just one person. If you feel bold and you want to ask, then go ahead, but I probably wouldn't in that scenario. Another thing is it's way easier if you've just got that one dog to, walk both courses for, because you can stay in the same kind of mental zone as far as your handling. But if you've got 2 separate dogs, it is going to be a bit trickier. But yeah, like I said, walk one course, know which dog you're walking it for and walk it for that dog and that grade. And then as soon as you get to your second course, if you want to, if you've got to switch from your medium 6-7 course to your small 1 to 2 course, flip that switch in your head, get into your 1 to 2 small dog mode and walk the course for that dog. And it's just all practice, okay? You will get better at it the more you do it. You just got to practice flipping that switch and switching from one dog to another. Again, if you've been running 2 dogs for a little while before this happens, then you're probably already used to that. And yeah, again, don't panic, because panicking always makes it worse. Take your time, take it one course at a time, and you'll be absolutely fine. As far as class clashes, when you're actually going to run the course, you want to look at your running orders. Again, if one of the classes is strict running order and the other isn't, then, by looking at your running order for the one that is strict running order, you know whether to run that first or last, okay? So if you've got an early running order, then get that done and then go do your other one. Late running order, do the other one first, then go run this one. If they're both strict running order, then that kind of makes your decision for you, how quickly you have to go from one to the other. Again, if you've got a groom or a friend, you can basically get them to queue in the other ring for you while you run the other course. Or at least go let the ring party know on the other ring what's going on and why you're not there yet, and maybe to hold for you, for example. But you'd have to be very unlucky to have 2 courses running at the same time and your running order's the same, if that makes sense. That is rare, I think, but if it does happen, yeah, I would chat to the ring party if you're on your own, and make use of your groom or a friend that's not busy if you have one, and get them to do that for you. And they can be at one ring, you're at the other, just so you don't miss out on anything. Again, prioritize. So, for example, if one's more important than the other, maybe do the important one first so that you and your dog are fresh. However, this is very dog dependent. So for me, if I had one really important one and one not important one, with Arrow, I would actually do the least important one first to get his initial crazy out, get a bit of practice in, and then go straight and do the other one. And we've already had that practice, that warm up. So it's very dog dependent. Do you want your dog going in fresh? Do they do better when they go in fresh, or do they do better when they've just had a run and they've had that practice? Okay, so that's, priority wise, that's how you make your mind up, which is the most important, and how will my dog, which will my dog run better? Will my dog run better in the one that we run first or second? Again, take it one run at a time and focus on the course that you're running. So as soon as you get in the queue for your first run, that's all you're thinking about. As soon as you finish that one and rewarded your dog, you're straight on to thinking about the next. Do not be thinking, oh, what went wrong in that one? Or do not obsess over the one you've just ran. Just forget that for a minute and just go straight to your next run. You've got to wipe that slate clean for your second run. Again, this is huge tactic within agility. Mental game-wise is mentally recovering and brushing one run, putting it behind you, whether it went really well or really bad or mediocre. You just got to, as soon as it's done, put that behind you for now. Run your next course, and maybe that night or the day after you can do your reflection on all the runs separately, if that makes sense. You've got to not let it affect you mentally for the rest of the event. Again, let the ring party know that there's a clash, especially, well, pretty much only if, say there's 2 medium 6-7s. And again, they may leave the class open for longer to allow everyone to run in both courses. But again, it's not quite the same if you just happen to have a different dog in another ring running at the same time. Again, they probably won't do that for just one person. Again, you can book in late to one class. So whether you go to one ring first, book in late, and then head straight to the other ring, or again, you make use of your groom or a friend to go book in late to the other class for you, then there's no rush because, unless you're silly late to the other class, they're going to leave it open. They will wait for you. They'll probably hold it 5-10 minutes longer for you if you're booked in late. Again, use your groom to your advantage. So They can queue for you, they can book in for you, they can bring your dog to the ring if you want to stand in the queue, etc. This is super, super helpful. And to be honest, I don't know what I'd do without my groom, and I do only have one dog. So again, I suppose it's just practice. If you don't have a groom, you're probably used to not having a groom and doing things on your own. But yeah, use one if you have one. Similarly, it doesn't have to be a groom. You could ask another friend who's also competing at the show. If they don't have any runs for an hour or so, then they can help you. And again, obviously, I'm going to say, don't panic. Just don't panic. Again, with all of this, you've just got to think there's nothing you can do about it. That's why it's an external inconvenience. It's out of your control. You cannot do anything about it. You can only manage the situation as best you can. You cannot change the situation, okay? The next thing that may be inconvenient is distracting spectators. So really, maybe you're about to run and you see there's someone sat ringside with a dog that's barking on the end of the lead super close to the ring. Okay, so ideally you should, or there might be people sat eating around a ring. Okay, so ideally we need to be training our dogs to ignore and work through a wide variety of distractions. In training, use these competitions as practice. So think of this as a training opportunity for you to train your dog to work through distractions and ignore them, because that's really the only way that they're going to get used to working through them, is by seeing them there and just learning that they have to keep going anyway. If it's really, really bad, if there's someone just being bang out of order with how distracting they are ringside, you can politely ask them to move before your run if you're extremely concerned. That is fine, As long as you're polite about it, you can either ask them before you go get in the queue, or you can again get your groom or friend to go ask them while you're queuing. Maybe your groom or friend could go stand by them to video, and while they're there, just, ask, maybe explain the situation, say, yep, this dog won't, like or will be put off by what you're doing or you being this close. Can you just step back just for the 30 seconds that you're running? So again, just take that as a learning curve as well. You need to go away and train distractions. Another inconvenience is ring delays. So if you're in the queue on the start line or have just finished warming up and then the ring is suddenly delayed, for example, a timing issue. I've been in this scenario so many times. Vine, this happened to me again, champ final. I was on the start line and the tyre was noticed to be at the wrong height. It was on small, so the ring stopped. And the ring was delayed while everyone sorted out what to do about it. And then it also happened to me at EO here in the UK, at Dallas Burston last year. Me and my 3 teammates were literally next to run in the team event, and something happened, something to do with the running orders. Another country had missed their running order or had to change their running order. I can't remember the ins and outs. But basically the ring just stopped, and it was 40 minutes. 40 minutes, but we weren't told what was going on. So we literally stood there for 40 minutes. In hindsight, we shouldn't have done that. We should have just moved away. But, we were development team. We'd never done that before. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't want to miss anything if it suddenly started back. Because we just didn't know. Even the management didn't know what was going on. But moral of the story is it's happened to me several times, including at a super important event that is EO. But we get through it, okay? It happens to us all. The first thing you've got to do is chill out. So if you're in the queue, either remove yourself from the queue and take your dog away. So you can actually, if you've booked in, you can actually take yourself out of the queue by speaking to the check-in person. I did this at Thames recently. I was booked into the queue and then it suddenly started chucking it down. So I went up to the check-in person and said, can you take me out of the queue, please? And she took me out of the queue. I went away. And then if I wanted to come back, I could come back and put myself back in the queue. But I actually did end up just withdrawing because it didn't stop raining. But you can do that. Or you can just sit down in the queue and relax, again, depending on if your dog will be okay doing that, if they'll be fine just chilling in the queue. With Arrow, he's fine pretty much just waiting in the queue, or just sitting down or just standing in the shade near the ring until it, starts running again. Ethel, though, she would go completely flat, so I would have to take her away in that scenario. If you're on the start line and the ring is suddenly delayed, put your dog back on the lead the ring and reward them, okay, as if they've just done their run, as if they've done something really clever, like, wow, you just did a start line, and in their head, it's over, they've had their reward, and then once the ring starts up again, you can get back into the zone. If you've just finish warming up. This is really annoying because if you just finish warming up and the ring is suddenly delayed, you're like, well, I'm going to have to re-warm up now. I'm going to lose all that warmth that I've got in my muscles, in my dog's muscles. So what I do is take my dog for a walk around the rings to maintain the warm-up while that delay is happening. If worse comes to worse and it's ages, you're just going to have to do your warm-up routine again. Not the end of the world. But yeah, take your dog for a walk around the ring so you can still see what's going on in that ring, but you're maintaining your warm muscles and your dog's warm muscles. And, you could do some training while you walk around, a few tricks by the ring just to keep your dog in the zone mentally as well. And again, you can use your groom to your advantage here if you have one. So, holding your place in the queue while you walk off and stuff like that. Another option is to totally abandon the ring and come back at the end of the class. So, like I said, you could take yourself out of the queue, just go back to your car, chill out, keep an eye on Plaza or whatever the processor is. Most of them are Plaza these days. I think they should all be Plaza personally, hopefully one day. Anyway, going off on a tangent as I do. You can just go back, keep an eye on Plaza when, you can see when the ring started up again, when dogs have started running again. And then you can decide to go back and it is back up and running and there won't be any further delays, hopefully, although you never know. Sudden adverse weather conditions. So again, like I said, this happened to me at Thames. I was in the queue and it suddenly started chucking it down. I was like, hell nah, I'm not doing this. First thing you got to do is risk assess the conditions and their impact on the ring. So, for example, it's obvious if it's been raining if it suddenly starts chucking it down, okay, things are going to, say there's 5 dogs before you run in the queue and it suddenly starts chucking it down. It's going to get quite damp quite quickly and it could be quite slippy quite quickly as well. Even those 5 dogs, they're going to start churning the ground up. They're going to, take the rain that's now on the floor into the tunnels and stuff. Things get quite slippery quite quickly if it starts chucking it down. So you need to risk assess the conditions and their impact on the ring. Very dependent on the ring, on the venue as well. How is the ground? Is it good ground? Is it bumpy ground? A puddle's going to form, stuff like that. It's very dependent, but you need to risk assess the conditions for safety there and then in the moment. Again, a lot of it's common sense and knowing your own dog as well. So know your own dog and how they handle running in these conditions. Some dogs are absolutely fine. Ethel could run in pretty much anything because she was very sensible with her body. Arrow, less sensible, more clumsy, will fall on his face anyway at the best of times, in the best of conditions. So I'm way less likely to run him when, there's potentially sudden changes in the weather than I would, Ethel would handle it much, much better. Consider running at the start of the class to avoid a downpour. If it has just started spitting slightly as well, then you are probably going to have more of a chance of avoiding it and getting it out the way with, well, it's only just starting to spit. I made this mistake at Thames. It was raining, so I didn't run. Then it stopped raining for 20 minutes over the lunch break. I think they paused for like 20 minutes over lunch in the middle of the class, I believe. And I was like, right, stop raining now. I'm going to go at the end of the class just to let it dry out. Went over at the end of the class, started raining. Didn't get the run done because it started chucking it down again. So yeah, consider running at the start of the class if it's only spitting slightly, and then you'll get your run done before the downpour, if there is a downpour, hopefully, because often it starts spitting and then it gets heavier. Or on the other hand, consider running at the end of the class to give a sudden downpour time to pass. Okay, so if it's the start of the class and it suddenly starts raining, just hold off. It might stop, it might dry up by the end of the class. Don't rush into it. And then finally, consider withdrawing from the run if you deem it unsuitable, like I did at Thames. It was chucking it down for a while. I was like, you know what, it's just not worth it. But yeah, the main thing there, again, is knowing you and your dog. Not only what you and your dog can run in safely as individuals, but also what you and your dog can run in and still actually enjoy it. Like for me, I hate running in the rain. I hate it. I just don't enjoy it. Arrow's not too fussed, but I just dislike it. Ethel used to quite dislike running in a downpour. It'd really slow her down. Or heat, same thing. Ethel really didn't like the heat. Arrow's not too fussed. But for me, I really don't like running in the chucking down rain. So if it's not an important run, then I'm probably going to withdraw from it just because I don't want me and Arrow to have a bad experience, either of us, either you or the dog. Okay, so again, it's very individual and very common sense based as well. Next thing is a physical niggle in you. So, for example, you do a run and you suddenly get a twang in a muscle, or you suddenly get a niggling pain somewhere out of nowhere, again, common sense, know your body. Is it safe to run through it? You can tell how severe something is and how much it's going to impact your performance. Again, shamelessly withdraw from your remaining runs to avoid further injury. This is important, okay? Your remaining runs probably are not worth getting a worse injury, making a niggle worse. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with withdrawing from, any more runs that day. I know it's annoying. Again, it's inconvenient. It's out of your control, but it's sensible and it's common sense. And deep down, what the best course of action to take is in that scenario. Same thing, if there's a sudden change in your dog's behaviour, if your dog doesn't seem right in a run out of nowhere, it might be due to a physical niggle, okay? And you don't want to make that worse, okay? So again, with no shame, withdraw from your remaining runs to avoid further injury. You can go away, you can get that checked out and make sure your dog's sound to come back and do your next competition. Again, it's common sense and it's just being sensible about it. I know it's a shame, but that, in my opinion, is the best way to deal with that. So that is all the pointers for today, guys. I hope that episode was helpful. If you have any other inconveniences at a show that you've come across that I haven't covered today that you would like me to give you some pointers about how to deal with in the future, please do reach out to me, send me a message and we can have a chat. If you have any questions about what I've covered today or you want me to go into any more detail about any of the points I've made, again, please do just send me a message and I would love to expand on my point. What have I got coming up? Axtane. So like I said, Axtane Champ. Axtane is Champ on Saturday and Sunday, I believe, is Stakes, which we don't need. And ABC, which I would love, if possible. Oh, voice break. So, yeah, exciting weekend. Champ and ABC, let's go. It's going to be bloody hot, guys. It's meant to be 30 degrees on Saturday. Big respect to Axtane, though. They have actually brought the show forward. It's going to be starting an hour earlier. Luckily for me, Champ starts an hour later anyway. So I will still only have to get there for 8 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, if that makes sense, which if it wasn't Champ and it wasn't already starting because it was meant to start at 9:30, then that would have been a stupid early start for me because it's already like 2 hours 30, 2 hours 45 from us and we're just raw dogging it and going Saturday morning and then hoteling Saturday night. So that would have been like a 3 a.m. But yeah, luckily it's just going to be normal time to get there. Thank God that I don't have any normal runs before Champ on Saturday. Absolute saving grace. And then Sunday morning doesn't matter anyway because we're in a nearby hotel. So that's worked out well. But yeah, really happy that Axtane have made that decision to bring the show forward just to avoid that heat because it is going to be so hot. It's going to be so hot. It says 30. Although it just says cloud, it says no sun. So it's probably going to be that like humid, clammy, close air. But anyway, again, can't complain. It is fabulous practice for Portugal, obviously within reason. Again, common sense when it comes to whether it's safe for you and your dog personally to run in it. But yeah, good practice for me and Arrow and, any other Team GB members who are running anywhere this weekend. It's going to be ideal, really, for us lot to practice. So that is what I'm doing within the next week. Nothing else really exciting in the diary. But yeah, that is all from me, guys. Again, please do reach out if you have any questions. You can follow me on all of the social media platforms at Pause in Pursuit or Summer Clark. You're probably all following me anyway. If you're feeling generous, if you enjoyed this episode, or if you're a regular podcast listener, or like I said, even if you're new and just enjoyed this episode, please do leave the podcast a 5-star rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. That would mean the absolute world to me. And give it a follow because I have some exciting episode ideas coming up. There's only 2 episodes left and then I will be having a little 2-week break while I'm away for Portugal. And then when I come back, I have a podcast scheduled with Katarina, the Running Contacts Queen. We're going to be talking all things running contacts, teaching a running dog walk. So make sure you're following so you don't miss that. I also offer online one-to-one agility coaching. So if you need help achieving your goals for this season, if you want to create some new goals and work towards achieving them with some help and guidance, or if you'd like to train with me and I'm just too far away, please do get in touch about that and I may be able to help you out. There is an online coaching inquiry form in the description of this podcast episode. Give that a fill out and submit it and we can have a chat. Commits you to absolutely nothing, but we can just see if we will work well together, if I can help you with your specific training requirements. Even if you have no specific things that you want to achieve, you just want to, expand your knowledge, if you want to just make progress in general in your and your dog's agility journey, I would love to see if I can help you do just that. And I believe that is everything I say in my little outro for the episode. Again, sorry it was slightly late, guys, but yeah, main thing is you have an episode for the week, okay? So hopefully we'll be back to our usual Wednesdays at 8 p.m. from next week. But for this week, at least there's an episode. All right, at least there's an episode. It's just a busy time. You're probably all feeling the busyness as well at the moment. I feel like every agility person is just busy. But yeah, good stuff, all good stuff. Can't complain. And I hope you guys have a great week. And I will speak to you next week at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Bye, guys.